Welcome to the Partnernomics Show, where industry thought leaders discuss the hottest topics in partnerships, ecosystems, and innovation. The Partnernomics Show is brought to you by IOLite Solutions, a product incubator specific to Salesforce. Now here's the host of the Partnernomics Show, Mark Brigman.
Welcome back to another episode of the Partnernomics Show. Great to be with you again. And we've got Mr. Chris Allen with us today. Chris and I have known each other for a long time. I was just reflecting on that a few minutes ago. I think it's somewhere around 20 years. But man, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Chris, I know you got a busy schedule, so I was finally able to wrangle you in to pull you on our podcast. How are things going today?
Things are great today. Really glad to kind of reconnect and see what you're doing, see the work you're doing, see where I can help. But yeah, I think it might have been more than 20 years, Mark.
I don't even want to think about that.
Early 2000s when we first started working together. And we have this conversation a lot about people that we picked up during the course of our careers that made us better people, put us in situations that made us stronger in our skill set today. You're certainly one of those guys. We talked about several others that have played a role in shaping us to the men that we are today. So I'm really glad to be helpful today.
I vividly remember walking into your guys' office and meeting a lot of different folks down there and just thinking, man, that Chris guy, he's got a pretty commanding presence. He's somebody that I would get behind and follow, man, which I don't say very lightly, coming from 6 years in the Marines. I choose the people that I'll follow. I was like, man, that dude's going somewhere. I'm gonna stick close to him. And here we are 20 years later.
That's more than I deserve, but I appreciate it. That's a nice thing to say. Thank you.
Chris, I think it says a lot. I'd like to really just kind of kick this off with, I think back, especially now, just over the, past year or two, just reaching out to different business leaders, people in my network, connecting with them, seeing how I can hopefully be of value and connect them with other folks. Man, something I'd like to really impress upon people in their first 5-10 years of their career, anytime in their career. It's almost like you can't plant enough seeds, man. You never know when those relationships, those conversations, that nice give that you offer, that connection you make, of where that will go and how it will multiply over the course of somebody's career, people that they meet.
One of the analogies that I use consistently, both in my own personal life or my professional life, and talking with both my board and my CEO, if you want to grow apples, you plant a seed, and it takes a long time before you ever see an ROI on that investment. People are the same way. You pick up these seeds along the way, and they regardless of role, I'm not one that necessarily gets excited about titles or worried about titles, because at the end of the day, we're just people. But the number of people that I work with still to this day that I knew 25, 30 years ago is tremendous. And I keep a tight group of people around me that either I have gained something from or they've gained from me. But at the end of the day, we're just people trying to do the best thing we possibly can and do the best of our ability to give those around us, whether it's personal or professional, our best. Yeah. Right. Trying to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. That's the goal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So Chris is the CRO for Intrado, and it's a company that a lot of folks have probably never heard of, but there's no doubt that you've been supported by them if you've been anywhere close to a phone. So Chris, I'd love for you to spend a couple minutes and chat about, maybe just briefly about your career, your background, some of the roles that you've had, and then about Intrado and serving as the CRO now.
I've been back at Intrado now for about a year. This is my second stint at Intrado. I was the vice president of sales at Intrado from 2012 to 2019. And if you've never heard of Intrado, I'm grateful, right? One of the things we do is public safety 911. We're a 45-year-old company. We essentially invented 911. A couple of Boulder sheriffs they set out to find a different way to respond to public safety. We've got a wall littered with patents of things that we've created in the industry. We are really the premier player in public safety, but the people that we serve are not necessarily our customers. So we've got a litany of some 2,000 customers that utilize us. Either you could be a command center or a public safety answering point customer. You could be a mobile operator, or you could be an enterprise. We touch the gamut of all the services that we support. But those are the people who pay my bill. They're not necessarily my customer. The problem that we try to solve on a daily basis is, how do we improve public safety outcomes? That person who dials 911, that person who answers the call, and then the data that is sent out to the first responder. I will touch one of those three in any particular outcome. I won't talk to the person who is making the call to 911, and I won't talk to the person at the end receiving the data, the first responder. But every day I wake up thinking, how do I make their jobs easier? How do I solve the problems that they have? Do they have enough spatial insights to understand what they're driving into? We were one of the first, we were the first to market on text to 911. It's a solution most people don't know, but there was a very specific cause and a need for that, which was, first, most obvious, if you're deaf or hard of hearing, texting 911 or using a traditional cell phone was not going to be able to get you the help you needed. The second outcome is, in a situation where somebody has entered your house and you find yourself in a closet hiding, you don't want to be really calling 911. Texting 911 gets you the same outcome, and we created that technology. So it really is a special place. We're about 350 million in revenue. We operate mostly in the US and Canada. We do have some international pieces that we operate under. But this is where I really wanted to choose to end my career. It was a very special place from 2012 to 2019. Not a lot of that has changed. It's still a very special place. A bunch of servant-driven people. They could make more money elsewhere, but they choose to be here. As far as my career goes, I've held a number of positions for mostly technology companies over the course of my career, experiencing that tactical element of the sales process, managing a sales, being a bag carrier myself, started off as an individual contributor, liked the management of people, learned a lot of lessons, followed a lot of guys. I am not really that smart when it comes to following the guys that do it well. I mostly have centered my career around doing things that I didn't like when I first saw it, right? The way leaders or sales leaders or senior leadership manage their business. I tend to look at somebody and go, oh, I would never do that. I wouldn't try that. If given the opportunity, I won't ever do that. So that's kind of how I've, rather than look at the positive, I kind of tend to skew negative in that category and say, my career has been driven largely by those people that I never wanted to emulate.
Chris, a lot of times we interface with CROs now, and we see more of the partnering professionals reporting into the CRO role. But I'm interested in kind of understanding the trajectory of your career. You were the vice president of sales, and then now you came back to Intrado as the CRO. I think there's a lot of blurring between what those mean. I don't think like CRO really is purely defined across the board. I certainly have my own thoughts of what that role should be, but I'd love to hear from you. I mean, what makes a good VP of sales, and what is that role and task? And then what is the CRO, and what are they responsible for?
Yeah, I think that I look at the 10 years ago, there wasn't a CRO, right? And most of the time, VP of sales reported up to probably a chief operating officer. And that chief operating officer really was performing some of the functions, the revenue, certainly the revenue component. But when I look at the differences between maybe a VP of sales and a CRO, a VP of sales is going to have a very tactical view traditionally of the world, right? They've got their own team, they've got their own customers, they've got the product set that they're going to sell. They're empowered to make pricing decisions and all of that, but it's largely tactical. The role of a CRO today is important because I think somebody has got to be sitting back looking at the horizon and understanding. For example, I have 3 lines of business, and understanding the trajectory of each of those for more and faster. How can I take what I have today and apply it to other communities? How do I get to scale faster? It's not unlike the decision we made in 2024 to be less direct driven in our enterprise business and become more scalable with our partners. So we really doubled down. A VP of sales would not make that call because he has his own he or she have their own single-threaded view of the world. And it's important, but you need somebody to be able to step back and look at the total horizon and say, for the betterment of the business and those we're trying to serve, we've got to go a different path. We've got to try a different thing. Bigger, faster. Those are kind of the 2 words. How do I make it bigger? And how do I make it go faster? And frankly, VP of sales don't think of those things. VP of sales, tactical, CRO, more strategic.
Chris, you said you have the 3 lines of business. Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not, but let's just go ahead and call those out. What are the 3 lines that you lead?
We operate in every spectrum of the public safety environment. We handle the call center or the call handling business, which is really the public safety answering points. There are 6,000 public safety answering points around the country. And these are the call takers. These are the people who triage your 911 calls. And in those environments, these are largely state and local governments, budgeted by state and local governments, and run by state and local governments. And they house the call takers. And we provide the equipment for those calls to occur. Then that's my command center business. And we also do next gen networks in there too, the routing of all those calls. Then I have a carrier business, and these are your traditional mobile network operators, right? These are I won't say them, but they're who you probably have your local cell phone service with. Tier 1 all the way down to tier 3. We serve them all. And we support them in their technology transition. The one thing you have to keep in mind with public safety is nobody wakes up in the morning and says, boy, I sure would like to change out my 911 network. Never happens. We only occur as a result of a technology change. The PSAP is changing technology or upgrading. The carrier is changing the configuration or adding services to their network, like voice over Wi-Fi, or they're going from 3G to 5G. There's a technology change that is occurring and that is requiring a change in the way 911 gets routed. Okay, so we have to stay up on all that. The third line of business that we have is really our enterprise space, and it fits in beautifully with the technology transformation. When Kerry's law was implemented federally, mandating that anyone on a UCaaS or a voice over IP network, it was mandatory that they support their employees with 911. The old way, you work at 100 Main Street, downtown Kansas City, and the call gets routed, the call gets picked up on the PBX at 100 Main Street, and you're in a 10th floor building and I don't know where you are. I can't find you, right? What Kerry's law did is for anyone operating in an IP telephony system, I know you're on the 7th floor northeast corner of the building. And usually, because of the way we set this up, there's a notification that occurs inside to either the front desk, or some people have their own private security that will notify that once that 911 call occurs, the security desk gets notified that somebody on the 9th floor or 7th floor had a heart attack or is requesting emergency assistance. Everything we do is in an attempt to improve public safety outcomes.
Yeah.
But it only occurs as a result of a technology change.
Chris, let's dive into partnerships.
Yeah.
And so from your role, and certainly from knowing you for a couple decades and what your background has been, you have a significant background in partnerships relative to the average CRO that I chat with on a daily basis. What does partnerships mean to you? How should new CROs into the role that don't have a background in channel, don't have a background in partnerships, how should they think about partnerships? Because I think most of them, I would say, are pretty intimidated by that whole other world that they've just inherited, but don't really know how to leverage it as a tool.
There's a couple of thoughts, Mark, that I have related to partnerships. One is, if you're in a growth industry and you're looking to grow, growing it organically or doing it through a direct sales force is not scalable anymore. People are too expensive. They're hard to replace if they leave. And so having channel partners means I get to utilize the sales force of someone else to include my product in the sale. So we take a very partnering look at this. Is there a trade-off? Absolutely. I can't always control the message. I have to give them a portion of the revenue, but they also benefit me from a scale standpoint. That trade-off is different. And you're right. For someone who's used to managing a direct selling business and finds themselves in my role, it can be intimidating. It can be change that they don't want to take on. It can be very overwhelming. Fortunately for me, in 2014, we started our partner journey in 2014 at Intrado, really with nothing. We were pure direct sales. And so we decided to go in 2014 down this channel partner path. And what I was pleased to see is the growth of it even after I left. We had some 50 channel partners in January when I came back. And when we set the path on almost complete transition to channel partner, now we're over 100. Channel partners are really a way to get there bigger and to get there faster. I don't want to have 100 salespeople and manage territories and quotas. And so we bucketize our partners into gold, silver, bronze, based on their commitment, based on their experience, based on their alignment with us. But we could not be where we are today without channel partners.
Chris, what revenue percentage do you guys have that comes through partnerships? It sounds like you went through this transformation over the last 10 years, going from primarily direct to now primarily indirect. Was that very intentional, or was it just, hey, we have this tailwind and you wake up a decade later and the business has just transformed itself?
We got a little lucky in the beginning. I looked at the kind of the layout, the blueprint of how we were selling today. And we were in a bunch of deals, but largely nobody knew who we were. So when you're selling to an enterprise, you're calling a Boeing or you pick, right? Wells Fargo or whomever out there in the enterprise world. And you have to know two things. One, you have to know that they're switching to IP. And two, you have to spend probably an inordinate amount of time introducing yourself to that customer. And that's the long pole in the tent. For Intrado, nobody knows who we are. And I prefer to keep it that way, right? So In the beginning, we were probably 90-10 direct to enterprise. I would say that is flipped. I would say we're closer to 80-20 today. 80% of our deals come from enterprise. I come from channel partners, some variety, whether they're a referral partner or they sell us all the way through and implement us all the way through. I like that model a great deal too, by the way, right? Where the value-added reseller is implementing me all the way through the process.
And do
I
they,
never have to touch it.
and they essentially keep the customer relationship?
We own, so they own their relationship with the customer. I own the 911 piece. I'm introduced during the process as the public safety provider, but it really, at the end of the day, gives the customer, the enterprise, one neck to choke, one butt to kick, right? They don't have to go to east for this answer and west for this answer. They can call one person and one person can triage the need and they bring it to us. But essentially, we own the customer for our piece. Yeah.
Just giving the customer the easy button, right? Giving them the full solution, but having the companies work together to put that solution together so that the client doesn't have to do it.
Look, at the end of the day, we're all battling with resources. None of us have too many anymore. Nobody has a staff of people just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. To the extent we can get the customer operationalized on their side on their timeline, all the better, right? The time to revenue is quicker and the customer's happier, the channel partner's happier, and then Intrado's happier. Resources are a big challenge in today's market. Nobody has an excess. Nobody's got a bench sitting out there waiting for the next thing.
Chris, do you guys have a recent partnering initiative or something that you've done that's created a new opportunity for your company? I always love to share some success stories of how people are out there just crushing it. I know you guys are doing some great things.
We do. So when I got here in January, we had this product that dealt mainly with school systems, active shooter environments, something we all see and hear about and read about every day. There's a new school shooting nearly monthly. And so we developed this product. We developed this product with one of our partners, which was a panic button, an in-school panic button. And we were selling this direct to the local schools. And what is there? I don't know. How many schools, Mark? 10,000?
Imagine.
Whoever, how many?
A bunch.
In order for me to get to scale on that, I couldn't do it. I combined that business unit. It's both a panic button and a mass notification system. We productize those and move them out of their own business unit into our enterprise space because there's a lot of similarities between enterprise and K through 12 and public universities and hospitality. But a year ago, we had no channel partners. Very limited channel partner. Let me say that. We did have some channel partners, some success, but not a bunch. And so all we had to do was add this SKU, this product offering, to our existing channel partners who are already serving that marketplace. It gives them another product to sell on top of my E911. And it gives them another avenue of revenue and another thing to talk about to their customers. They have a more robust profile, product portfolio for their customers. And every salesperson wants more products, and that's what we did. So we have completely flipped that market. That market is completely being served by channel partner today.
That's awesome.
And we're enjoying success because of that.
Chris, one last question before we let you go, and that is, I want to dig back into your brain and get some recommendations for new CROs that don't have a lot of experience in partnerships. And maybe they've brought on a new team or a new person, but like this function inside of their company to leverage partnerships, but they really don't know what that means. What's some recommendations you'd have as ways for them to understand more of what partnerships are, see it as a tool to leverage, and just go embrace the new opportunity that's out there?
I think there's a bit of ego sometimes that plays into a new CRO. They are expected to know everything and have the answers to everything and explain why. If you find yourself in that box, it's a dangerous place to be because, one, we're all human and none of us know everything. I think the first thing you have to do is get comfortable with what you don't know. Understand where your gaps are, where your weaknesses are. I wasn't particularly always a channel guy. I had some experience. I've always been a fan, but it can be intimidating, Mark, because when I walk into a room with 10 people, 10 people know 100 times what I know about channel partners. I don't know what questions to ask. I don't know how to get a program started. And it can seem insurmountable. It can be attempting to eat the elephant whole. Be curious, ask questions, go to conferences, go where they are. What I have found with my channel partners is they're eager to tell you about what they do and how they do it better than anybody else. Start with a few channel partners, see how it works. Develop a skeleton of a program. But be curious. Measure, hold people to a standard, hold people to a messaging theme, hold them accountable for results, keep the ones that work, get rid of the ones that don't, right? I don't brag about having 100 channel partners. What I really would like is 10, less to manage, but you got to kiss a lot of frogs sometimes, right? Find that prince. And so I would say be humble and be curious. Understand what you don't know and ask the questions of people. And a question that's always worked for me is, tell me what I should know. And that's always helpful because then that sets the bar. Then you're approachable and that you can have a real conversation with somebody about what is the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, I like that. That's great advice. I love it. Be humble, be curious, ask questions. We're all lifelong learners, right? I think.
Well, it doesn't just apply to the channel world, right, Mark? I mean, that is
life.
that sets about just about everything that I touch on a daily basis. Being a parent, being a husband, all of those things, being an employee, being humble and curious are two things that could carry you a long way, just in business.
Love it. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It was great to check in with you. Congratulations on the awesome stuff that you're doing there in Intrado, and looking forward to continue to watch you guys grow.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. Anytime I can be of service to you, I always will.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of the Partnernomics Show. Don't forget to subscribe to get the newest episodes at thepartnernomicshow.com. Special thanks to our sponsors, Iolite. To learn more about Iolite, visit iolitepro.com. And Partnernomics, the science of partnering. To learn more about the suite of Partnernomics courses, coaching programs, and consulting services, visit partnernomics.com. See you on the next episode.